The little things aren't always so little. Whether it's spilling a cup of coffee on a stranger's sketchbook and ending up with a boyfriend, or taking the key you used and transforming it into a giant bridge thanks to what's essentially a magical diorama. Given the right parameters, what's small can easily become big. Maquette is instantly weird in its world, but charmingly familiar in its exploration of relationship dynamics, all on top of being one clever first-person puzzle game. Like Russian nesting dolls, there's an identical but bigger version of what exists just outside. And dropping an item into the diorama makes it big in the real world, while dropping big items in the real world makes them small in the diorama. The beginning of Maquette is quite literally an invitation, and it's one I accepted immediately because being dropped into a beautiful purple pastel garden with quotes in the air guiding me as a haunting cover of San Franciscan nights swells in the background was completely up my alley. I adored the times in Maquette where areas bloomed like luminescent drawings before my eyes. Sketches are used as cutscenes in a way that's both a visual delight and a window into Kenzie and Michael's relationship. Creativity and wonder is at the crux of their dynamic, brought together by their shared sketchbook, a book you essentially spend the entire game exploring. Puzzles center on manipulating scale by changing the size of objects, going to bigger or smaller versions of the world, and exploring the environment in new ways. While additional layers are introduced, the core remains and makes almost every puzzle feel fair. For the most part, Maquette respects your time. Each chapter brings you into a new world with several areas, but regions you don't need to solve the next puzzle are intentionally blocked off. Even the existence of the diorama is helpful as a convenient overview of the space, in addition to its obvious role in object size manipulation. For me, one of the tenets of good puzzle design is making it easy to go from having an idea to trying out an idea, and in this sense, Maquette is mostly successful. My biggest gripe is that the option to reset actually resets the entire chapter, not just the puzzle you're on. While most puzzles can be solved within a few minutes once you know the solution, this is a pain that discouraged me from restarting even when I felt stuck, or was literally stuck. On that note, technical hiccups were never enough to ruin Maquette for me, but it is worth noting that I had a few frame rate drops in some instances where objects would freak out a bit. Thankfully, these were few and far between. Maquette is brilliant in its ability to make the gameplay constantly reflect the story, not just in the environments you're asked to explore, but in the way you have to move through the space. Written text is often supported by the setting, creating a great physical manifestation of the feeling they're trying to convey. Maquette's moment-to-moment writing manages to realistically capture a relationship while adding just enough charm to make me feel for these characters. But it's at its height when it's capturing the more tumultuous moments of this relationship. Like sketches to a drawing, conflict starts out small and quick, and in a game that's all about scale, that's a fantastic story to tell. While making gameplay mirror the narrative creates a unified experience within Maquette, sometimes it's a bit too on the nose. For example, during a rough part of the relationship, Kenzie remarks on the cheap salt and pepper shakers as good enough, she guesses. And then later she buys really expensive salt and pepper shakers as an eye-rolly act of rebellion. Without getting into spoilers, these shallow threads become increasingly dull at best and cliche at worst in Maquette's final chapters, dragging mechanically and narratively. Kenzie pouring out her heart didn't pull me in because those wires weren't attached to anything. All of this to say, Maquette does love and romantic conflict a lot better than individual conflict and self-discovery. While the ending left me a bit unsatisfied, none of Maquette's late game flaws are enough to undo the brilliance that came before. In short, Maquette is a wonderful puzzle game set in an eye-catching world, and it excels in its ability to walk players through a love story while making every challenge relevant to the romance. For even more on Maquette, be sure to check out the written review linked in the description below. And for more on the latest games, be sure to head over to twitch.tv/GameOnyssus. Especially Friday's Best of 2021 watch, where I stream the latest games in search of the best games of the year. And as always, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, tap the bell, hit subscribe, and I'll see y'all here next time.